Hello and welcome to EduMate.tv. I'm Chetan Shah. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic. With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making us all rewind, rethink, reboot, reset before we rebuild our new lives, our new normal, our new lives in the field of education, particularly higher education. And the only way you can find some certainty in the uncertainty and some solutions in the challenges is by a singular trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experience and knowledge brings flexibility, anticipation, and the agility to forecast the future, embrace it, and evolve with it. And that's why we have our very wise Chancellor.
Okay.
Today, a very special guest we have with us, Professor B.C. Mull of the GIS University in Kolkata. What a pleasure to have you with us,
Thank you.
Mull.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. GIS has been a signature of the East, as in terms not just of dispensing some very credible education, but the vast size and volume. So talk us through the secret of its success.
See, the GIS has got about 30 educational institutions spread all over West Bengal as well as in Jharkhand. But this university, it was established in 2015. What happened, after having successfully run so many colleges, the management thought that they should have a university also. So they applied to government of West Bengal, and the West Bengal Assembly passed it that in 2014 sometime November, and 2015 February they issued the notification that the university can be established at a place known as Agarpara. And then at that time I was just working as a professor at IIT Kharagpur. Before that I was the Vice Chancellor of Chhattisgarh Technical University, So after completing my tenure in Chhattisgarh, I came back to IIT Kharagpur and joined back my original post. And then in 2014 and 2015 July, I was to retire. So they requested me to join as the Vice Chancellor. On 31st July 2015, I retired and joined on 3rd August Monday as the first Vice Chancellor of the university, and the university started functioning. So initially there was nothing, but then within the last 5 years, I think, at least I feel that we have done tremendous development we have been able to take up. And then we have taken altogether a new kind of education that we see. When I attend the meeting of the Vice Chancellor, sometimes the minister, state minister, he requests the Vice Chancellor that you start your, semester system. So some Vice Chancellor, no, we are not able to start. But we started our university with the semester system because I studied at IIT Kharagpur in 71 itself, while I was in MTech in 1971. At that time itself, we are under this semester system. So for me, it was nothing new. And then they have been talking about the choice-based credit system because the UGC has told, MHRD has told. But this choice-based credit system, this thing, sometime in the early, part of the century itself, we approved it in our Senate. And what we approved in the Senate, sometime after 10-15 years, we find that UGC issues a notification, yes, this should be started in other universities. So that was also not new for us. So while framing our curriculum, we included this choice-based credit system. So we have that. And there are a few more things. Because the students who come to our university, their communication skill is not very good. They're either from Bengali medium, either from West Bengal, or they're from Hindi medium schools mainly. Few are only from the English medium schools. So to improve their communication skill, we made it compulsory that seminar, each semester is a compulsory course. It's a 1 credit course. Every week there is 1 period allotted for this purpose, and they're continuously evaluated for this throughout the semester. Whenever they are speaking in a seminar, some marks will be given to them. So that way we try to enhance their communication skill. Another is that innovative thinking should be there. Then what we have been doing, we have been inviting a lot of people from industry, and they have been interacting with the students. They have been delivering lectures, and such people are also in our academic council, in our governing board. Of course, for the last few years, we have been trying for that e-learning, but e-learning somehow, unfortunately, did not take up that much, except that a large number of students have been taking the NPTEL courses. As soon as the lockdown started, really, a new thing altogether came. Teachers had to be trained, and all teachers started their online classes.
Talk us through the unique challenges of the COVID environment. You said that a lot of things have not been new for you, but COVID has to have been new. So how was the experience for you at GIS?
We have been more busy than we used to be at other times. At the time that we used to go to the office at 9:30, leave by about 6 p.m. In the evening, some little bit of work I used to do in my laptop, apart from writing some book. I used to write books also. But now there is no office timing. Even Sundays, nights, any time people will call and people will send mail, and there will be online meetings. All these kind of things are going on. And then we had two very good seminars. Some 3,200 participants from all over the world were there. So that way it has been nice.
You mentioned that a lot of your students come from rural areas. Now, talk us through the fact that there is this problem of a digital divide, because there's digital infrastructure issues. Even while we're talking to you, we're having this problem. And obviously, everybody doesn't have sufficient devices. So how has been that challenge in the online education for you?
Even the rural areas are now connected, but may not be all. Like in West Bengal, Sundarban area, some students complain from Sundarban, one was from Andaman, that they have that problem, So government has to see that all the villages are connected with the internet. That government has to see, so that then this online teaching, can take place. That equity should be there. Now there is difficulty in having the equity, because the people who are in the city, maybe Calcutta and around, they are able to get better facilities, and those who are in the rural area, there is problem for them. In online examination also, some 5 to 7% students, they could not appear, So that digital divide is still there.
Yes. So now tell us, the government has taken a lot of decisions. Obviously, it's a unique situation for them as well. But there's a lot of confusion, whether it's, on the examination front, the assessment front, or the fee front. And there are different opinions coming from the state governments, different from the center governments. The parents are confused, the students are confused. And what you don't need in an environment like that is confusion. So where do you think that the policy making needs to take its next big steps?
No, I think that government need not take much decision about this. It should be left to the university. One thing I have been telling the people, and many people may not like also. So I have seen the kind of freedom we enjoyed at IIT, and we could excel. But here there will be controlled by the UGC, MHRD, AICTE, for pharmacy, PCI, for law, BCI, for education, that is B.Ed courses and M.Ed courses. You have the NCTE. So all those controls are, I think, it's all right. They should look into the quality, but otherwise how they will conduct examination, how many credits they will teach, all these things should be left to the university as it has been left to IIT. So much of control is not at all good. And I tell you, right, since I came from IIT, I wanted to have the semester system, means it's a continuous evaluation system. Earlier days, 3 years BSc course, at the end of 2 years, there used to be part 1 examination, at the end of 3rd year, part 2. These are the 2 examinations on which the whole assessment was done. That's wrong. Right. That's wrong. You are just cramming or memorizing the things and then writing and forgetting. That's not the thing.
I'm so glad that you've been so futuristic in your understanding. Now, a new part of the future, Professor Mal, is that, interdisciplinary education. You can take diverse subjects to become more holistic. That wasn't there in the past. There seems to be a new trend that's emerging. How are you catering to that in GIS?
See, the thing that exactly we have not been able to start, but it has to start. Like say we are having a course MSc in remote sensing and GIS. Okay. Now remote sensing means not a particular subject. People can come from BSc chemistry, they can come from physics, they can come from even engineering courses if they want to come. So the thing that remote sensing everybody is applying. I am basically an agricultural engineer from IIT Kharagpur. My original field is soil water engineering, but I am also responsible for developing aquacultural engineering discipline in India and known for that in the country now. it's not that a person has to have BSc degree, then he comes for this. They can be from any discipline. Similarly, environmental engineering. Environment is being dealt by everybody. So whether it is biotechnologist, whether it is civil engineer or chemical engineer, everybody deals with the environment. So there should be courses on environmental engineering. Gradually, these things have to come. Okay, it's not that you studied in one discipline just does not help. So these kind of interdisciplinary things have to come, but people mind it is very difficult.
I think you've been exemplary in your thinking and very forward-looking and very creative, and I congratulate you for that, sir. The entire ecosphere right now needs a bit of hand-holding, a bit of advice. So what would be your advice to the 4 critical sections of the education ecosphere? The student, the parent, the teacher, and your fellow vice chancellor. What will be your advice to each of these people?
So be forward-looking, and the fundamental of a student should be clear, very clear. Things will not run in any particular paradigm. It is a change, a century of change. Change will occur. What you study today may not be useful tomorrow. So your fundamentals should be clear. As and when needed, you should be able to change and adapt to the new situation. Things will not be hardware driven, they will be software driven. You should be flexibly skilled. Teachers also have to be flexible. They have to keep on learning. Their learning curve must be, what is that called? It should be exponential curve. As you grow, you should keep on learning more and more. Tagore told, a lamp cannot burn another lamp unless it is burning. A teacher can never teach unless he is learning.
Professor Mal, your enthusiasm to learn, your energy to motivate, your pragmatism, your progressiveness, and your future outlook is indeed inspiring. And that makes you a very, very worthy Vice Chancellor. Thank you for being with us.
First of all, I wish you all the success in your endeavor, that you have taken a great initiative. And because the education is very challenging now, you are an eye-opener for us also.